Hi everyone, Matt here from Proof Fly Fishing. In today's video, we are going to talk about a few things to consider when fitting a reel seat onto the back of a fiberglass blank, and then we're going to talk about how to fit a grip. So the first thing, when you get your blank, you might notice that generally fiberglass blanks have a larger diameter, especially in the butt section, than graphite rods. And one of the struggles you're going to run into is, say you find a reel seat that you really like and you go to install it and the butt section is just too large to accommodate the reel seat. Now there's a couple different ways you can deal with that. The first is to take a file or a drill and open up the inside of that reel seat a little bit. And if it's real close, I think that's a fine option. But what you want to be careful of is opening up the inside too much, such that the walls of that insert start to get brittle and thin. It'll crack on you either when you're actually trying to open it up, when you're installing it, or when you're fishing someday. But there's a better option, and that is to use a stint. A stint, in this case, is a piece of solid fiberglass rod that's of a smaller diameter. It'll accommodate pretty much any reel seat. And then what we're going to do is we're going to insert it into the back of our blank, and that's going to give us the diameter we need to mount the reel seat on. Now, if we were to do it just like this, just epoxy it in place now, what we'd end up with is a butt section that's about 4 inches, or roughly the length of the reel seat, longer than the other sections of our rod. And installed as such, I'm not sure if you can see from there, but this stint is just sitting on the bottom of the blank. And if we were to install a reel seat on it right now, that reel seat would look off-center up to the grip and the rest of the rod. So what we're going to do to avoid both of those issues is we're going to cut this blank so that when we install the stint and the reel seat, this section is the same as all the other sections. So to measure that, we're going to take the reel seat that we want to use and we're going to hold it parallel to our blank. You can hang it over the back of the blank, maybe a 1/16 of an inch or so, give yourself a little bit of allowance, and then take a piece of tape and simply mark that blank where the front of the reel seat meets it. And with that tape in place, that's going to be your cutting guide. In our last video I mentioned you're going to need a small saw, again a hacksaw, a Dremel with a cutting tool. Anything will really work to get through this as long as it has a fine tooth on it. Go ahead and make that cut. I've got one here that's cut already. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. All of this is going to be hidden underneath the reel seat and the grip, but try to get it as straight as you can. Once we have that cut, we're going to measure our stint to our reel seat. So we're going to take our reel seat again, we're going to take our stint, and we're going to hold them up to each other. Now, on the lightweight rod, the stint does not have to travel the full length of the reel seat. If you want to do it 3/4 of the way or all the way, it doesn't really matter. There's not a tremendous amount of pressure being put on that reel seat. But once you have it measured, again, give yourself about a 1/16 of an inch leeway in the back, and then take a piece of tape and simply mark the front of that reel seat. Now everything in front of this tape is going to be inserted into the back of the blank. Just like that. But what we're going to do is add a little more structure to that stint in this part to make sure that it sits in there well and that it's going to hold. So we're going to take additional pieces of tape and spacing them about 1/8 of an inch apart, we're just going to wrap and create these little dams. And the space in between is going to help the epoxy adhere. It's going to give it space to kind of connect with both the stint and the blank. I have one that's finished here. You can see I've got 5 dams on this one, and they're spaced roughly 1/8 inch apart. So when we go to insert it, what we want is a fit that when we tip it upside down, it won't fall out, but I can easily remove it. And what that's going to allow is enough space for the epoxy to get in there while not having so much space in there that it sits crooked in the blank. The nice thing about using this approach is that by going around the stint, everything self-aligns. It's going to come out the back of that blank perfectly straight, just like that. And now we have our smaller diameter that we can mount our reel seat onto. In the next video, we're actually going to epoxy it in place, but I want to talk about fitting a grip. It's a fairly straightforward process. The first thing I like to do with a grip is just slide it on the blank to see how far it comes down without doing anything to it. So in this case, I've got maybe 2.5 inches to go, which is pretty good. And it's starting to get nice and tight on the top, which is how we want it. When you open up a grip, we're going to use our rat tail file. Always start from the bottom. If I don't have to, I try not to touch the front of the grip at all because I like it to be really tight on the front so that it just looks nice and it's easier to get the thread to look good at the front when that's the case. So in the back, what we're going to do, we're going to insert our file 3/4 of the way up. And then we're going to do 2 or 3 passes and then rotate the grip in our hand, maybe a 1/4 turn, 2 or 3 passes again, rotate, 2 or 3 passes, and that's going to be our pattern. What that's going to do is help us maintain a centered opening in the back. So 3 and then rotate. You can blow out the cork dust when you're done to help make sure the fit you're getting is accurate. Try it on. Got about 1 inch to go, a little bit more. What we're going for with this grip, because we're using a down-locking reel seat, we want the back of this grip, the flat part of this grip, to be flush with the back of the blank. If we were using an up-locking reel seat that had a grip that was inlet, like this, what we'd want to do is have that blank come to the bottom of that internal recess. If you had it kind of coming up to the top, just like this one, then what would happen is the blank would still get in the way of the reel seat. So have it go all the way down to the bottom. We finish our grip up here, a couple more passes, we're close. Try it on again. Good, just like that. The grip's coming perfectly flush with the back end. If your cut's less than perfect, if it's off a little bit, go ahead and recess that under the grip just a little bit, and that'll help your reel seat get a good, nice, smooth transition. With a grip, again, you don't want it so tight that you have to slam it on the table to get it off. Just so you can hand tighten it and hand install it like that will be just fine. It's nice and tight in the front, which is good, and to get a sense of how this is going to look when it's complete, we'll install our stint. And we've got our reel seat, just like that. In the next video, we're actually going to talk about different epoxies, how to epoxy a stint in place. Same thing with a grip. There's just a couple small tricks that you can use to kind of keep things neat. You don't want to use so much epoxy that it just gets all over the place and is a huge mess. In the next video, we're also going to talk about installing a tip top. We're going to talk about guide spacing, and we're going to start talking about how to align guides as we prepare to learn how to wrap a guide. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.